Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the best, at least, Baseball Stars series on YouTube. Let's go ahead and jump straight back into it. And once again, don't worry, I'm not actually playing here. This is just the computer showing the, what do you call this screen? This is, I guess, the attract mode or something like that. I think that's actually a term from the arcade game. So, anyway, we don't want to make a team. We want to go over here to view team and just take another look here at where we're at and what we're doing. So Pigpen is getting up there kind of with 10 hitting, 11 batting. Oops, Linus has 8 hitting and 11 batting. So we've got our sort of big guns up there in the middle of the order. And then eventually we're going to work some of the rest of these people up. I think that Franklin here eventually is going to be built up. I'm not sure if he's the next one though. Probably Frida is going to be the next one. Frida's 12,000, Franklin's 12,000. So one of the two. And we'll probably just sort of try to slowly, you know, get these players sort of ramped up so that we can not only get more money, but we can also win more games. So we'll see what we'll do. We're going to use the same lineup that we used last time, which hopefully is at least somewhat popular among those in the comment section who care deeply about this. And let's see how we're doing. It's another icy day outside. It was it was actually below 0 degrees Fahrenheit when I woke up this morning. Right now it's probably in like the teens, I think. There's so much ice out there, and it's caked on top of the snow that it's kind of hard to get anything out. We've got a car that's parked outside, right outside the garage in the driveway, and that car's not going anywhere anytime soon. I might try when it warms up later on this afternoon. I might try to see if we can't get that out a little bit and make sure it can drive when we need it. But fortunately today everything is closed, so we don't really have that much to do with it. It's a great day for sitting around playing some Baseball Stars. And Linus has some bad luck again, so he's got a little bit more power, but we do need to probably pump him up a little bit more than that. Let's see if we can actually score some runs this inning. And that's probably not going to be enough to do it. And it's not. So once again, we wind up going down despite getting some base hits. We do need to continue to improve our hitting abilities so that that doesn't happen so often. So let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we can get a couple strikeouts, and there we go, and get rid of these guys sort of the easy way and get back up to bat. Anyway, hopefully you guys are doing well. I know that especially those of you up in the northeast, further north than we are, probably have a ton of snow. People were saying, you know, there was about 18 inches or so, which is quite a bit. Around here again, I mean, we got probably 6 inches, I would say, at most. It wasn't really that bad. It still is quite a bit, but it wasn't as bad as we were expecting. I mean, we had weather reports that were calling for maybe up to 10 inches, and we didn't really get any close to that. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. It's, like I said, it's a good day for playing some Baseball Stars and kind of forgetting about all of the problems in the world and just sort of relaxing a little bit and seeing how far we can go with this. I do have a video I'm working on for tomorrow that's going to be on RBI Baseball 2, so look forward to that coming up on the channel soon. It should be pretty interesting. We're going to talk at least a little bit about like the NES lockout chip and all of that other stuff, so those of you who know a little bit about the history of Tengen and, you know, that series of games probably already know what it is I'm talking about. So it's some pretty interesting stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of it ends up in the end being somewhat speculative because there's not a whole lot of like great information out there. You know, I can find some things, for example, if I'm reading through like, you know, old newspapers, I can find at least, you know, some sort of coverage of some of these games, but there's not a whole ton of stuff out there. For Tengen, actually, the best source of information are there are news articles about the lawsuit they had against Nintendo starting in 1988. And there are also some articles and advertisements, too, in magazines that are not like Nintendo Power that can also be somewhat helpful. But other than that, you know, it's a lot of sort of piecing stuff together through what things that people have been saying over the years on different forums and stuff like that. Pretty interesting stuff. One of the most interesting things is that a lot of these companies like Color Dreams and some of the other, you know, the one that made the Bible games and stuff, these companies would use these methods to bypass the lockout chip that would usually involve like giving some sort of like electric shock to the system or something like that, right? Doing stuff that was actually dangerous. So I don't know how old most of you guys are. If you're like my age, you might vaguely remember back in the 1980s, there was a time when Nintendo was telling its customers that you want to make sure you don't use unlicensed games because some of them will damage your NES. And it was true. It wasn't necessarily true for all of the unlicensed games, but there were companies that were doing some really, really sketchy things to try to bypass the lockout technology. Now, the big question, of course, is whether it was right for Nintendo to have the technology in the first place and whether, the US government should have intervened. I mean, that's a much more complex question. I'm not an expert on, copyright law, and I'm certainly not an expert on antitrust law, but that's what the whole dispute really was about. Tengen, of course, is actually Atari, and that helps explain why they had the money to challenge Nintendo the way that they did. It's interesting because Atari kind of split into half after all of the troubles that the company had starting in like 82 or something like that. And eventually Atari turned into Time Warner. So if you're looking at the RBI baseball games like Super RBI Baseball and the Super Nintendo, or you're looking at like the Genesis games, what you'll notice is that after RBI 3, they're, technically still Tengen games, but it'll say that it was made by Time Warner. Interesting, right? Because Time Warner, of course, was one of those really, really bloated companies that ended up having a lot of problems later on in the 1990s. So there you have it. I'm always fascinated, though, with, the Tengen games and the fact that this company was able to so flagrantly defy Nintendo and Nintendo's rules. Because like when you're looking at like Wisdom Tree or whatever, you're looking at companies that were operating mostly, like it wasn't being advertised in normal stores. You had to go to like, like Christian bookstores or whatever to buy some of these, Bible-based games and stuff. But Tengen was absolutely in normal stores, and there would be sales on Tengen products and stuff like that, and they weren't even trying to hide what it is that they were doing. It was kind of like an open secret that, they had the ability to bypass Nintendo's technology and all that stuff. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Anyway, RBI 2, of course, winds up being, basically it's the same game as the original. The only exception is that you have more teams, but other than that, the way that the game is designed, the way that the game controls, it's almost exactly the same. You have a few more teams and you can dive and you can jump. However, unlike this game, Baseball Stars and RBI Baseball, if you dive and jump, usually it's not much different from actually just running to the ball and getting it the normal way. Diving and jumping doesn't really do you that much good in the game. Why is it that they had a guy just sort of standing there? I'm a little confused as to why the center fielder stood there and watched the ball come down in front of him. That was a little bit odd. Okay, well, whatever. Alright, that's just barely outside, so that was a good pitch to take. That one I thought would be a little bit inside, and that ends up being called a strike, so go figure that one out. Alright, well, we got 2 runs out of it. That's not too bad. Now, the funny thing about Nintendo and its sort of lockout policies, its third-party licensee policies and stuff back in those days, is that it was ostensibly to try to make sure that there were high-quality games coming out on its system in the United States, which is kind of laughable if you've played some of the games out there. I'm thinking most specifically of LJN's NFL game, if you've ever played that one. That game is really, really bad, and that game came out right in the middle of, all of this talk about, oh, we have to make sure that, not everybody can make a Nintendo game and all this other stuff. NFL by LJN is a really, really bad game. It's very, very slow. It's very difficult to control. It's kind of hard to figure out what's actually going on. There's not a lot of good things I have to say about the game. Maybe the fact that it has all, 28 NFL teams might be a positive thing. But again, the problem is that you have to play this game, right, to experience it, which is a big problem. It's really, really bad. So anyway, it's not like Nintendo was, adhering to like some amazing standard of quality. Actually, that seal of quality that you saw in those Nintendo games really didn't amount to much as the years went by. Is this going to have a chance? No, not quite deep enough. We need to get a little bit more batting power before we can start hitting home runs. So much for that. And it's still going to take a little while for this team to become sort of like the perfect team, the team that we really want it to be. And that means more grinding, which means more of these videos. But it's all right, you know, we can figure out what to talk about and what to look at and stuff. And hope we don't give up a 2-run home run here. That would be really nice. All right, this is the real danger man, so we got to make sure that we don't give up a home run to him. Yeah, there's really, the truth is there's not much we could do about that. I probably should have just thrown home and sort of forgotten about it. I'm hoping that we can have Charlie stay in just for the very, very end of this inning. That's what I would really like to see. I love how the guy's backing, you know, out of the batter's box really, really slowly when that ball comes in. Alright, so we only gave up 1 run. That's alright. Let's see if we can start getting him back. Linus had bad luck. He got a hold of one earlier today and it just didn't quite go as far as he wanted it to. He didn't really get a hold of that one. That's going to be a little pop-up to second. There we go, Shermy. We really have him in there for his bat. Not quite yet for his defensive abilities. That'll come eventually. We'll eventually get these guys up to speed, but it's going to take a little while. And of course, that's the real joy of this, which is that, you know, you don't start off winning right away. You've got to get to know the team. You got to spend some time with them. Unfortunately, neither one of these players can really run, but yeah, she's never going to make it. Not with that kind of speed. She looks small, she's probably, you know, really skinny, but she just doesn't have wheels. There we go. Yeah, too slow to try to score on that, but 3-1, and we're threatening again, which is good. I wish that was a hit by pitch. We came close. Oh, go back. Oh wait, we need to take him out, huh? Alright, here we go. Now this is a little bit better. Top of the 5th inning. So that's alright, we got 4 innings from him. I think it's pretty good. Eventually, when we get his stamina up, it's going to be a little bit better. It'll be a little bit easier for us. And we get the base hit, so we not only get the 4 innings out of our starter, we get the extra run. And every little bit helps. Now let's see if we can keep this inning alive, and I'm always a little bit too late trying to, there we go, trying to react to those pitches, and that time we got hit by it. That's another one where we get that batting power up just a little bit that ends up being a grand slam home run. So it'll come. We'll get there eventually, but right now we're not quite at that level yet. There we go. We timed that one right, finally. So the big question in this game, of course, is always, you know, what is it that you upgrade first? Do you upgrade your defensive ability, to upgrade your speed, upgrade your hitting? I think that, you know, either defense or hitting is probably the right answer. I'd have a hard time with upgrading speed too early on. I think you could do maybe a little bit of that early on in the game because that allows you to beat out some of those sort of infield hits and stuff like that, which is nice. But other than that, I don't really see, and then, you know, your speed, running around, fielding, I don't really see a whole lot of benefit that comes from that. It's the sort of thing that ends up being kind of marginal in the end. And to be honest with you, as long as you're playing this team, it doesn't really matter. I mean, this team's not really that good. Oh, is this going to be it? There it is. So first actual home run of the season, non-inside the park home run. Makes it 5-1 and forces another pitching change, which is exactly what we want to see. We want them to work down to their last pitcher as fast as possible. And it's even better if he's throwing a Linus. Go ahead, hit him. So the team finally has the first home run. It's taken us long enough. This is the game like, I don't know, like 16, 17 or something like that. This is not going to be the second one, unfortunately. And now there's one away. I think he's going to beat it out. And he does, yep. After you play it for a little while, you start getting used to stuff like that. You can tell as soon as it's hit whether it's going to be a base hit or not. Did you see that pitch move? That was insane. That was insane. That was headed right for it, and then it suddenly curved back around the plate. Gotta wonder what it was he put on that. And see, I thought that was going to be the same thing again. That pitch probably would have hit her. That pitch did hit her. Hama with another bit of control problem. That actually was a ball. I should have taken that one. Well, now he's got me where he wants me to be. Yeah, that's the end of that. So much for that. We do get the one run, 5-1 now. Wasn't quite as perfect as we would like it to be, but it's all right. I wonder if you took a look and if you had the way to like figure out, you know, which NES game had the most total number of play hours of all time. I wonder where this game would rank. I'm guessing this has got to be one of the top ones because you get a lot of RPGs that people play, but you really only play through them once. If you're talking about, say, for example, like Final Fantasy 1 or something, I mean, I guess you could play that game and try different combinations of like people in your party and stuff. But this game, if you're trying to, you know, build it up and get your team built up and stuff, you end up just playing hour after hour after hour. That was Paul, by the way, that we struck out looking again. We've done that quite a few times, actually. But yeah, that's the thing about this game. I mean, it's not only is it a lot of fun to play, but if you are trying to, you know, play it the legit way and, you know, get things built up from scratch and all of that, this game really, really does kind of take control, and you have to spend a lot of time playing it. So it's fun, you know. It's a good game to play. Even when your team kind of stinks, it still is kind of fun. It's just that hard part of this game is right at the very beginning when you don't really have a good team at all, and you're like, oh jeez, you're trying to figure out how in the world to win a game against the computer, and the very beginning stages are always the ones that are the most difficult. Unless you cheat. I mean, if you cheat, you can get infinite money and then buy everything you want, right? What I'm doing here is like the opposite of cheating, right? This is like, you know, I'm making bad decisions, you know, so it's a little bit harder for me. That's the reason why, right? It's not that I'm bad at this game, it's that I'm doing this on purpose. Oh, yeah, that was kind of a ridiculous pitch to swing at. The problem again is that this guy's got that like screwball type thing, that pitch that goes in on you and then suddenly straightens out, and that's the one I'm kind of worried about. Well, we get a base hit out of that, so that's not bad, and that brings up the power part of the order. Yeah, that's a little bit more like it. So yeah, it is. When you start getting the batting up to like 11, 12-ish, that's where you start seeing some real power, and it feels a little bit better too when you're playing the game. But to answer all of the people who've been commenting about this in the comment section, I still do think it's important to build up prestige at the same time as everything else. Oh, come on. How is that a strike? It's ridiculous. So prestige does make things a little bit more expensive because you use up points, right? But the nice thing about prestige is that you actually end up getting something for it, right? As long as you're capable of winning games, you want to build up your prestige. Right, the only other thing it does is it kind of like delays, you know, the amount of cash you can spend on other, you know, attributes and stuff like that. But if that's the case, you still really need to get the prestige up as quickly as you possibly can, especially if you know that you're good enough to win games against teams like this. That way you can get paid and then it becomes a little bit easier. Plus the nice thing is that once your prestige is up, it doesn't like go away, right? So once you've got it up to a certain extent, then when you're playing against any other team, the amount of money you're going to receive once you win is going to be higher. Now, what you probably don't want to do is the thing that people recommend, which is, you know, ignoring everything else and just hammering your prestige up as quickly as possible. Is not something I really recommend doing with this game. If you're playing it this way. If you're doing, you know, the trick against lovely ladies and stuff where you control both teams and all of that, then yeah, maybe I could see, you know, doing something like that. But if you're trying to, you know, beat the game legitimately without any sort of tricks or cheating or anything like that, you probably do need to make sure that you're making your players better while you're pumping up their prestige. We have one of those freaky things again where the catcher and the pitcher both were under my control like at the same time. If you push down instead of up, then the game starts to really glitch out because it wants to give you the pitcher if the catcher goes off screen, but it can't because it then moves the catcher back automatically. It's kind of weird. That's the thing about this game. It's similar again to Legends of the Diamond. It has kind of an auto-fielding system. Kind of a bizarre style auto-fielding system. One of these days we'll play Legends of the Diamond as well. I think, I love how he falls down. The pitch was so slow. But yeah, we'll play Legends of the Diamond here one of these days, maybe when we're done with this project, whenever that is. And you can check that one out. That game, I had that game when I was growing up, and that game is legendary for oh so many reasons. In fact, I would like to be able to actually win a game of that in tournament mode. I've never been able to do it. It's crazy. You have a team that's got like Sandy Koufax pitching, you've got like Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, you know, Ty Cobb, and then you play against a team made up of a bunch of guys called like Ted and Frank or whatever, and you end up losing. Like not only do you lose, you end up being totally like slaughtered in the game. Only Legends of the Diamond. Only game that's like that. Alright, we got this guy out of there. I wonder if the relief pitchers get a little bit of a boost as well when you put them in the game at first. It feels like it. It feels like there's a little bit of a speed boost. Like that first plate appearance. I did not mean to do that. Alright, let's see if Linus can redeem himself. Getting a walk here actually would be a great thing. That would not be such a great thing. So, 7-1 now the lead. Now we can kind of coast, I think, into the end of this game. And see, they're not pinch hitting for the pitcher. So it's got to be really frustrating for the computer manager who had to take the pitcher out with the pitcher's spot due up next in the order. And remember, this is Baseball Stars, so you can't do like a double switch. In fact, back when I was a kid, I was so, so into these NES games, it took me years to realize what a double switch actually was and that it was actually possible, right? I will say this though, after playing, you know, a bunch of baseball sims and stuff, taking away the ability to do the double switch makes it a lot more simple to manage your lineup. So, you know, you can make it just so that, oh, you're going to take this guy out while you put another guy in the same spot in the order. You don't have to have some complex menu where you have a whole bunch of different choices and you have to click like 3 times to make a change and so on. Kono does not have good control, that's for sure. Let's see if he pours one in there. Actually, it was probably ball 4. Yeah, we just got under that one, unfortunately. Yeah, he's been missing. He's been missing all over the place. In fact, we probably just should stop swinging when he comes into pitch. I wonder if it's programmed that way, actually. I wonder if it's programmed so that this guy misses, you know, the plate. And it's sort of there to test you to see if you're going to swing wildly. If that's the case, you know where I fit in the spectrum, right? I mean, I'm probably the least patient player of Nintendo baseball games ever. There we go. That's a base hit. All the way to the wall, so maybe it's going to be a triple. Let's see. Yep, easy. Wow, I can't believe they let them get through, too. Man, look at that ball just sort of dribble up there as slow as humanly possible. Yeah, they're really falling apart now. 2 triples in a row. Actually, it's gonna be a home run. Easily. Not even close. Not even remotely close. Jeez. There's still only 1 out. We might end up winning this game by more than 10. Alright. 9-run lead, that's alright. Remember we started this game off and we weren't so sure about things, and looked like we were going to have kind of a slow start to everything, and now we're doing a little bit better. Oh, that wasn't very good. Other than user error, we're doing pretty well. Ah, jeez. Oh, so much for that. Just barely got him out. So yeah, I do wonder about this game. I wonder if there isn't some sort of like built-in mechanism or something like that to make it so that, you know, the game's a little bit easier if you're playing against one team, maybe a little bit harder if you're playing against another team. I don't know. There we go. Beautiful play, and so we win this one 10-1, and now we get our payday once again. 24 hits for us, they only had 6. Ends up being pitcher C1 getting the win, so Charlie can't stay in there quite long enough. Eventually, we do need to get his stamina up, but it's going to take a while. See, look at that, 48,000 now, so we're getting up there in terms of the amount of money we can get. And now, here comes the fun part, right? So the question is, I mean, we kind of have him up to where we want him to be. We could go for Shermie, we could go for Franklin. I think what we're going to do likely is probably Franklin and Frida. We'll just sort of like... Yeah, we'll probably do Violet, I think, first. Let's go ahead and do this. Franklin's at 12,000, Violet now is at 12,000, Frida's at 12,000, so we can just pick one of them. Yeah, so you could probably just sort of go through slowly, kind of like this. And then, yeah, we don't have any more money left, so that's pretty simple. But the nice thing is it gives us a bunch more prestige from these players, including players that are probably not quite ready to play yet. I think Franklin, we're probably going to wait a little bit. We'll probably upgrade him one more time, I think, before we start really putting him out there. But we're getting to the point where, you know, Shermie, Franklin, Lucy, like, probably next time we're going to ignore him. We'll probably upgrade her. And upgrade her and try to get at the very least the hitting up for these girls. Hitting and defense, yeah, both of them really need defense. And Sally has a good defense, so you know, I'm trying to remember. I think she is starting for us. So maybe we work on getting her up to 20,000 first or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Let me know what you think. There you go. So it's another beautiful game of Baseball Stars and another beautiful frozen day. And it's a day like this that's good for playing games like this. So I hope you're having a good day. As for me, I'm going to be working a lot on the video that will come out tomorrow, and we'll try to get another video done today. Hopefully I can get everything done on time. We'll see. It's been kind of sketchy the last couple of days, but we're trying to get it turned around. Anyway, I'll talk with you again later. Bye-bye.